Hey, what's up, everybody? Hope you all having a good day. It's Kip here, your whiskey tour guide, and I am going to discuss something that happened a few days ago. I did a video, I believe, earlier this week on Monday, where I reviewed a particular whiskey, which you're going to tell you about in a second, and I gave you some of my flavor notes, and so be it. A buddy of mine who lives out on the West Coast, Northwest, said, "Ooh, that sounds great." And so he had a bottle and he tried it and he's like, "Man, I don't get that." And it brought up to me a very interesting point that I think needs addressed. Something that I tell people all the time when they listen to my reviews or when they ask me in person, like, "Hey, what do you think about this? Should I buy this?" And my answer is always, "Man, I don't want to be able to tell you that." Because here's the thing when it comes to tasting any whiskey is everybody's on a different journey and we've all developed our palates to different levels. Number one. Number two, we all have different palates. We when we know something, we're getting that sensory and that recollection to something that maybe somebody else doesn't have, and we're picking up places. Maybe I'm more familiar with a certain fragrance or fruit note, or whatever that note may be, that somebody else that's just not as prominent in their daily lives. All of those factors do play into how we smell and taste our whiskey, just like it does in other aspects: coffee, wine, various foods. And so it's not a matter of right or wrong, it's a matter of difference. And so people ask me, well, should I drink that? I was like, listen, if you have aligned, if you followed me and you taste what I taste and you find that we're kind of on a similar palate profile and you like what I like and maybe what I'm like, it's not my favorite, isn't your favorite, then absolutely feel free to follow my direction. But you need to be sure, because everybody's palate's different. I do tastings all the time for the distillery, and what's my favorite isn't always everybody's favorite. What notes I have on these whiskeys isn't everybody's favorite notes. And it's just, that's just part of life. The other thing is, what can happen, I can taste a whiskey 3 days in a row and might even get different nuances because of climate, what I've had to eat that day. And it may not have been like I just got done eating Mexican food and then I went to go taste my whiskey, but maybe earlier in the day, maybe whatever the case, maybe I have smoked a cigar. There's all types of factors that will play in to how I smell and taste that whiskey in that moment. Again, doesn't mean that it's wrong. It doesn't mean anything except that, you know, I guess you could say the most accurate time would be the first thing of the day before you've had any food. But if you brush your teeth, that's going to affect it. If you don't brush your teeth, that's probably going to affect it. There's always going to be factors, and our day is always going to give us something that's going to affect completely how we do this. Like when I'm doing a full tasting of multiple whiskeys, the two things that you always have on hand typically are just water to rinse your palate, and simple, like just a white bread or a saltine cracker, something that's got basically no flavor, that just is a palate cleanser. Those are the reasons, because everything, a grape, a piece of cheese, those things can complement and go with whiskey fantastically, but they can also adjust or uh, change what we get in the whiskey. It can kind of dictate some of where that leads us. So all of those play a factor. So I stand by what I said, not because I think I'm right and Top Shelf was wrong, simply because we got two different things out of the same whiskey, which is also one of the beauties of whiskey. But in all fairness, I'm going to try it again. Jefferson's Chef's Collaboration. This is a marriage, they call it, of bourbon and rye. We both agreed there is quite a bit of rye spice on the nose that is still prominent. Still got a classic bourbon nose, vanillas, caramels, oak, but those rye spices play into it and come through. And that's about what I get on the nose. Let's see what the palate has today. There is a balance of sweet and spicy. It's more sweet to me, and I think that sweetness for me does play into a bit of fruitiness. I still get a zest, like an orange zest or a lemon zest. I mean, but zest specifically. And I still get a hint of banana, not so much on the palate itself, but on the finish. As it kind of finishes and washes, I get that sweet, ripe banana. That's what I get. Little banana bready type of thing. And I'm not trying to justify my own thoughts. I'm basically trying to say that I'm not crazy to my own self. No, but that's what I get. It's not what Top Shelf got. It may not be what you got, but it is what I get. It's not that I'm right, you're wrong, you're right, I'm wrong. It's a matter of we have different palates and we have different tastes. But I want to know, particularly if you have this guy, what are your notes? Is my palate completely in left field? Or are we going to be split and everybody's going to have a different palate? That's what I suspect. Let me know. Drop a note. I know this is a bit of a longer video, but so be it. Y'all have a great day. Cheers. We will see you next time.